Hello there. My name is Himnish Goel, and I welcome you all to the Everyday Consultants podcast show, where we talk about the uncertain trajectory it takes to stepping into the shoes of a consultant's mind. From adapting to constantly learning, to research and developing your own theories, objectives, and opinions, to advising businesses from their area of expertise to communicate the fine line between an estimate and polymath. Thanks for taking the time to join me, and let's tune in into today's episode of learning more about what experience means to you at the age of 23. And for today's episode, we're mostly going to take a deep dive in this special edition, where it's a big day for me, and reflecting back on how, as someone that's coming from the consulting industry, how this milestone of what you learn from a consulting environment definitely adds up into future experiences that you end up taking on as challenges will always add up in your life, because you started your journey as a consultant. You started with the mindset of a visionary mindset and the possibilities of seeing what it takes to have your side of the branding, and also the opportunity to work on different clients, and what an environment or culture looks like, and what type of environment or culture might look like in that type of scenario. And since this is July 29th and I'm turning 23, meaning a big milestone, it's the sort of thing that encompasses the all of everything of which you might expect. You know, when I started we want to count the internship experiences that I got from consulting, then starting at 2020, when I was starting a good grasp of a smaller level consulting company, you start to realize that it's all about one, application, and practical. Application of how to apply, practical of understanding what it actually means. And when those two get put into context, it becomes very easy to sort of figure out the fine line between what is right and what isn't right, in which you are applying that skill, that IP skill, or whatever it is that you're trying to create or add into a database or an API command, and then practically trying to figure out how do we put all this, how do we connect all the dots over here. And that's the same way an experience or a birthday is created. You have the application that, okay, the application is the person who's being celebrated for. Practicality is, how do we make it a celebration that he'll never forget, or an experience that he'll never forget for a lifetime? Same thing over here. It's the exact same thing, except this is more used for a one-time event. That's more used for 6 months to a year, or even longer, depending on what the client's looking for. And what I'm trying to present over here is, as you get through the experiences as a consultant, and as you start to understand, you evolve, you start to put the neurocenter parts of your brain into action of seeing what is the sort of perspective the client's trying to give, and what is it that you're envisioning for the companies, and how do you present that at the end of the table. It all adds up as you get better with it. And that within my experiences, every project has its own takes, no matter what you're trying to do and how you're trying to approach it. And you can even take something from college or high school that has practically nothing to do with what real world would have to stand for, but has about 5% comparison to what it might mean. You know how they would say in geometry that they would give word problem examples that if the height of this building was X and you had to find the Y of the circumference or whatever it contained about. Even though you would never measure that building, because it would be impossible, and second, it'd be dangerous. Those sort of basic understandings of how you're calculating numbers, or you're understanding the formulation of cells, how does it evolve, to what is history of the United States and how it makes the economics of upcoming years, and future events, and English of storytelling, of creating things that resonate. All these things that we learned in school have about 5% or maybe even more that has to do with consulting. You're trying to tell a story to the clients that gets sold. They want to know the numbers to see how their business is going to grow in numbers, and what are the projections held. The history part, how can we make impact so that the future generation can see the history for a company and that our brand history feels more richer. And when it comes to science, well, science is very much applied to ones that are pharmaceutical companies, because they're having to deal with drugs and medicines and not prescriptions, but creating those pills for everyday uses that people might be using for prescription-based type of method. But on the other side of ones that are not pharmaceutical industry type of companies, science is used as the way to show that the companies evolve. If they're not evolving, they stay stagnant. And because they stay stagnant, it becomes hard to prove their point. What are they doing that's new? Which is why you start to see nowadays why companies are going more into AI, or why if a new company comes up with an entirely new product, they start to rise in demand. And the ones that haven't, we've already seen how they've worked their way out. I mean, look at Circuit City. Look at some of them even do things that are illegal, but the ones that just don't innovate really go the other direction, like even Toys R Us, or even Bed Bath & Beyond, right? All these companies might have tried or just didn't work, did not use innovation in the way they should have, in which falls under what science would do, evolving, just like how our human bodies are on a daily basis. And the reason I'm talking about practicality, application, and how things sort of come into 360 circle is because just as we turn older, and just as we feel like experience is not really grasping on us, no matter you're 23, 22, 21, 25, 27, 28, or even 30, 35, 40, or whatever it is, as you start to go a year older every time, there is something else that flicks a light switch in you that might have not clicked it the year before you. And so, to not be overburdening yourself with that type of stressors, you're better off knowing that experience, the type of term used for you are getting richer with your history of understanding how these things work and evolving at the same time. But while you're doing that, your brain cells are slowly calculating how in terms of how you process the information so that you can remember that moment as a visual experience, which is your stories, so that when you master one part, it only grows bigger, and that when you go to mastering the other ones, it starts in the same process. Which is why, in just common example, why is it that when we start addition, we hate it when we're 5 or 4? And then all of a sudden, the moment we grow older, it feels like a piece of cake. And every time we go back, it's not like we need a revision of how to do it, because it just comes automatically. It's because we've done it so many times to know that from that one moment that we got the success ratio from it, that every other time it just grows into a bigger ball of experience in working with addition, subtraction, multiplication, division, or whatnot. The same way it goes with cloud, AI, DevOps, product management, or whatever it is, design or finance, or however feels you're looking to put mastery in to show your consultancy stripes as a professional. So, as turning 23 today, with 23 years of maybe not work experience of seeing how you evolve as a human, to understanding concepts of life and work and numbers or whatever it is you're experiencing on this day, and hope and wishing myself happy birthday, and just thank you to all of you for the support you've given to me on this podcast show. But hopefully you were able to gain some amazing understanding, information for our episode today. Continue to keep on putting that consultant's hat on, striving, growing, learning. And if you know of anyone that's looking to take a deeper dive into the world of consulting, be sure to reference this podcast to them on Apple Podcasts, Spotify, Google Podcasts, or wherever you find this show on any major podcasting platform. And while you're at it, be sure to leave a review on any of the major podcasting platforms as well. Until next time, stay tuned for the next great episode of Everyday Consultants, and I will see you in the next episode. See ya. Please be sure to subscribe to the podcast and also leave a review of how much you enjoyed listening to Everyday Consultants. While you're at it, be sure to provide any feedback you might have on my LinkedIn posts in the comments below. And if you know of a friend who's curious about learning quick bites of information regarding the life of a consultant, then be sure to recommend my show to them or anyone that you think might benefit from listening to it. If you want to connect with me, you can find me on LinkedIn, Reddit, and Twitter by searching my name on the platform. If you're interested in looking at some of my other professional content, that is currently in the works, then in that case, you can take a look at my Linktree portfolio that can be found below in the description or show notes of this episode. Don't forget to tune in to listening to all episodes of Everyday Consultants and wherever you're able to find your local podcast. Until next time, stay broad, be curious, and be passionate about listening to a conversation where knowledgeable advice gets provided about the world of consulting, about a consultant in our next episode. Peace out.